Hello, this is a recording of the book Great Ghosts by Daniel Cohen. It was published in 1990 and it's a book of short stories. There are 9 ghost stories in this book, and I am going to read a few of them. The first one is called An Ancient Ghost. About 2,000 years ago, a writer in ancient Rome recorded this story. It is one of the oldest ghost stories we know. There was a house in the city of Athens, Greece, that was said to be haunted. People who stayed the night heard moans and the clanking of chains. Then a horrible phantom appeared. It was an old man with long hair and a long beard. His clothes were little more than rags. From his thin arms and legs hung heavy chains. The phantom moaned and shrieked and shook its heavy chains. The sight was a terrifying one. Worse still, all those who saw the ghost were said to have nothing but bad luck afterward. As you might imagine, not many people would stay in such a house. One look at the phantom would send them running into the street. If they heard the story, they would not rent the house. It was almost always empty. One day, a famous but poor scholar came to Athens to study. He was looking for a quiet place to live, but he had very little money. He saw the empty house and asked how much it would cost to rent. The rent was very low indeed. It seemed to be just what he was looking for. Still, the scholar knew there must be a reason why the house would rent so cheaply. He asked about it. At first, those renting the house avoided the question, but finally the scholar was told about the ghost. The story didn't bother him. He was not a man to be easily frightened. He decided to take the house anyway. On his first night in the house, the scholar sat up late reading as usual. Then he began to hear noises like the rattling of chains and moans. At first they were soft, but they grew louder and louder. The scholar kept reading. He didn't pay any attention to the noises. He refused to have his studies interrupted. Finally, the horrible figure itself appeared before him. The scholar couldn't ignore it any longer. But he wasn't frightened either. He stared at the phantom. The horrible figure moaned and screamed. The chains on its bony arms rattled and clanked. Still, the scholar just looked at it calmly. After a few moments, the scholar realized that the ghost was not trying to frighten him. It wanted to get his attention. It wanted him to do something. The bony arms were not waving wildly. The ghost was motioning to the scholar. The scholar rose from his chair and followed the ghastly figure. The ghost led him to a spot outside the house. There it pointed to the ground, gave its chains one more frantic shake, and disappeared. The scholar marked the spot and went to bed. The next morning he went to city officials and told them what he had seen. He said that they should dig at the spot the ghost had pointed out. They did, and found a human skeleton just a few feet beneath the surface. Ancient and rusted chains clung to the bones. These remains were collected and given a proper burial. The grim phantom in chains never again troubled the house.